to una all, wherever una may be. Thank you for listening in. We're starting a little bit, we started right on time. I was going to say we're starting a little bit late, but no. So we are um, glad to be back. Happy New Year to everybody. And this is our first broadcast for the year 2023. Hope we're on to a good start and we're starting on a good foot. And as usual, we all know the rules of engagement. This is an interactive program. It's live. People call, people ask questions, people make suggestions. We only have one simple rule: mutual respect for each other, meaning callers should respect the host and other callers, and the host equally they respect callers and try to put things in perspective. Also, one rule I want to remind everybody about: we only they allot 3 minutes, 15 seconds. The 15 seconds actually is for just wrap up in case you have not wrapped up when the 3 minutes is gone or run out when they ask the question or make your comment. So normally the rule is to be able to allow others who may be on the line to be heard. What we suggest and what we recommend, please help us to process everything efficiently by just when the buzzer goes off. It's a reminder that it's time for you for finish talking. And if you have additional things where you want to say, please just go ahead, uh, suspend or stop what you're saying, and come back and redial so you can come back on the line. So as a result of that, other callers who have been on hold will be able to have an opportunity to ask questions without having to stay on the line for a long time. I always give an example. If they give 3 minutes and you are caller number 5 and caller number 1 just started talking, so approximately you have to hold, if every caller used in 3 minutes, you may have to hold for at least 12 minutes before you and turn come. So if that's just using 5 people on hold, and what may happen, some people will not be able to hold that long because people are calling from different locations. Some people have a little lunch break at work and then just have something in their mind where they want to inject into the conversation. So we try to respect everybody in time and use the time where we get and where everybody gets wisely so we could benefit from all the calls. Also, we get certain numbers that we can for announce to the public by which we can be easily reached. And so VOS get series of numbers then. And we are carried by Instagram, YouTube, WhatsApp. So these are all other medium than where they participate in the broadcast or for disseminate the information or for pass the information around. Now, we get a toll-free number in case you call from a location when a toll-free number is workable. Now, 1-866-944-7722. 1-866-944-7722. If you're calling from the UK, is plus the sign plus 44 20 80 89 1455 plus 44 20 80 89 1455. If you are calling from Australia, it's plus 61 29 09 84 337. Calling from Australia, plus 61 29 09 84 337. And if you're calling on WhatsApp, it will be 1-343-997-5828. 1-343-997-5828. So we hope with their numbers there, people then could be able for reach we whenever they choose for make any suggestion or put in a call. So these are some of, I think there are many other ways. Then let me also try to remind people, and because of the topics that we want to deal with, as soon as I finish talking and the co-host, where I go introduce just now, introduce himself, then we will open the lines. The lines will be open. We'll ask the technical team for open the lines. So in case you get when I get any question and not get for which day we the presenters then finish for talk before when I call. You can feel free for call anytime within the discussion or during the discussion, and we'll go interrupt we own conversation and entertain una calls and go back to where we were. So we want let one another and so don't wait till late. Anytime you join the program and you get questions or you get suggestions or you get disagreement or anything of the sort, just call we. All right. Today, say we show normally the regular presenters are me and Miss Fadima. But Miss Fadima is not available and it's unlikely she will be appearing today. So, but we get a very knowledgeable, renowned, able co-host by the name of Mr. Victor Mangot, who is as knowledgeable in the topics and other topics that we may be talking about as they come. So that said, let me just shift right now to Mr. Mangot. Let us introduce himself. Then I go take over. Just let us know which are the topics. Then we'll go back to Mr. Mangot. So, Mr. Mangot, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you much, Mr. Shilon. Well, famble them in a kusha, in a do, in a co. This is not the big year. We hope we go engage with you now for the development, settlement of Salone. Now we join Mr. Shilon, Mina Victor Akumengot, a Salonean based in the UK with a lot of experience in governance, both at local government level, parliamentary level in the UK, countries, notably in the Eastern Mediterranean. So I want for joining now for shared knowledge. And I also, as recently working as a consultant for the World Bank on a project as institutional development expert. So with that background, I'm sure I'll be able to share my experience with you and also learn from you as well, because this is a two-way program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mangot. Now, I want the audience, they know, say, basically, in view of the fact that we have an upcoming election, general election this year, and we commit ourselves to give the public as much information as possible. And we do know, say, we try our best for be as objective as we can. And sometimes in the process, we may be easily misunderstood as trying to speak for or against a particular government. And of course, usually we get this tendency in our country for mix up the political parties them with the institution of government, where we know saying are two distinct entities. So some of the analysis that we will make, it may target or fall on a particular party at times without the intention or any intention of trying to blame anyone. In fact, there is so much blame to go around since 1961, we'll get independence, that it will be foolhardy for even begin for blame one political party for the state at which or in which we find ourselves over another. So that will not be the purpose, that will not be the intention, but sometimes in the process, it's almost like driving a car. You try to stay out of which we call gallop, the potholes them. But sometimes some potholes are unavoidable. You just get to go in if you want to continue the journey. Now, today's discussion generally is just going to be, from time to time, we go the project na the screen subtopics and general topics. For example, we talk about Sierra Leone, the Sierra Leone we want, for example. So we put, say, building resilient, accountable institutions, because we know we want institutions that will withstand the test of time. You know, I always want to give example, because sometimes when we say institutions, people think about institutions of higher learning, school, college, not to the institutions today with the talk. We talk about infrastructural institutions, like the civil service where we inherit from the white people. And I always like to say the white instead of just say the British, because I want for we begin to look at ourselves and see how capable we black people are, if we just flat out incapable of doing certain things. Because we all know say we inherit an excellent civil service from the British. Then give it very great foundation because of the historical connection with England. Sierra Leone used to be the leading country in British West Africa for almost every sort of progress or development. And so we know say they left with good institutions. We know say they left with good educational system besides the civil service. You know, the educational system was good when they left, but we not get enough evidence, and we go even like for people and for call. These are some of the challenges them. Because when they take positions and with people disagree, that's give we some substantive evidence or proof that we're wrong and that you people are right. So we know say when the British they left with solid foundation for keep the system going. They left with democracy, you know, they left with good political system, but the evidence is overwhelming that we have not improved what they left us. None. What the evidence shows is that everything they left us for let we run our country smoothly, progressively, you know, what we have done for political convenience and for one political party to get advantage over the other, and without regard to the overwhelming adverse effect, we diverting from what the people are left with, we're not to for good. We decided to shortcut the system. We start employing people not based on qualifications but based on connections. We start doing things for help political cronies. We start slowly but surely. So now we find ourselves, we collectively, all them small shortcuts that we don't take, then don't get an not only disparate impact, but very adverse impact on the system. We have come almost to a grinding halt. So we want to just discuss with the public, let the public then understand what is happening as we are approaching the 2023 election, which is about 6 more months from now. We want to let people be informed, and we want to let people know say nobody eats or feeds them family with political parties. Nobody goes to a store and say mina SLPP or mina APC, then give you food for free. Nobody goes to the doctor and say mina APC or SLPP, then just give you treatment for free. So we therefore try to break away from this mentality of mina this, mina that, and look at judge will leaders them based on the work what they do. You're not going to get college education for be able for be analytical or for be able for see wrong from right. There are certain basic elements in human beings where we know good from evil, we know wrong from right. So let we just use their God-given talents and try to make sound judgment when the time comes. Today we will talk about governance in general. And then in that context, we'll be talking about the executive, the judiciary, and the parliament. One of the three main bodies, you know, that constitute a democracy. Of course, there are some who will say even now, for a true democracy to flourish, you need the press. And talking about the press, I have serious reservation on the press in view of what we see recently by the press holding news conference in the State House and trying for cast blame on certain groups, particularly those in the diaspora. So, but again, if we not get opinion, please call us. Now, let me turn on our back over to Mr. Mangot. Mr. Mangot, like I say, is a very able, well knowledgeable, very conversant with governance, like you say, local, central type of government. And I get one comment for people again, where we know they try for tap on the talent like Mr. Mangot. What we are doing, we are avoiding able Sierra Leonean like him, well-connected Sierra Leonean like him, and go get what you would call expert them, who may not know as much anywhere close to what he knows, or who may not be able to come up with practical solutions as he may be able to do. And part of it, again, has to do with we complex, we think of ourselves inferiorly, we don't think we are as good. Or part of it might be for corrupt motive, because if you hire a Mr. Mangot, I mean, you know, for pay him the kind of money where you would charge, where a non-Sierra Leonean go want to be paid. But I can assure you, a non-Sierra Leonean, for the good of the country, may be willing to take a fraction of what other people who come in and give advice how to help the country where the advice not get any practical outcome. That said, I'm going back to Mr. Mr. Mangot. Sorry, I keep saying Mango because we have a local name here, Mango. So, yeah, I'm going back to you. So please, the floor is yours. You can take over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shilon. And I think this program is very timely. And it's timely for three main reasons. We all know about the January 6th. That's recently on social, and as this look at what happens during, we get a lot of things on January 6th, where we've been getting that insurrection at the country, where a lot of people's life meant collapse, and the outcome of that, the peace, under the late President Kaba, now for set out the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Of course, Sierra Leone to the country for set that and up. In Africa, I mean. South Africa went through that after apartheid. Also, this year, we all they hope for the general election, when at the first term of the current, some people then call and talk and do. And we will look at, say, well, when he started, he made promises to us. So we can say to people, them, let us buy them and they. People in the country where they feel the pain. We also get people in the diaspora. Boko Afina go tongue this festive season. Some of Fina still there with the area situation where the fight for property, fumble the dupe people them is very, very important. So waiting, let's start. Apart from the governance background, I'm also an engineer. And accidents where in our country. So when you do investigation, we get what they call root cause analysis. The present situation of our country, they so. And it's documented. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission report, the first thing when they say, we now form the basis of this topic today. Now, the failure in the governance system and the institutional lapses but when we talk about governance, it's a very big word. Governance is how we observe, right? How we sort out systems. That is the first. The second thing the report say, it say all them men them starting from the independent of us were wrong when we change to independence. That is like me soon as start we've been in the way from the Union Jack to the blue. We get archives in composition of the national, and also that end we get with 3 words: unity, freedom, and justice. And when you talk about governance, unity, freedom, and justice, it's critical to that. Unity, how would they come together? It just tell everyone we'll get our job together for cook, for feed the nation, and for feed the people. Same way with government institutions. As my co-host say, the one way they make parliament, one way they dispense job, when we manage our affairs, when we executive, headed by that, I go say nine at the country, and the minister then. All the one and they we look at. Also, the commission say, what thing cause the problem? Now, because we break down in the system, we marginalize certain people then. The young, look after the young. Now, cause all the problems. So, when you talk about government, you talk about laws. You always say Salone is a country of laws. We get a lot of laws. Some of them where we inherit from the British. We can hear just quote the Lassini Act, 18 something. This government recently about the Public Order Act, 1964, which was repealed. We were introduced by Albert Magai. We got most of them, even as this, with the fight over the law for election. Law is important in a governance system. Then we have institutions. When we talk about institutions, now, let's take the government, the civil service. Like I said, said before, we inherit the civil service from the British. And when you join civil service, even you pay scale. Then all the Kingsley Davis. Now, Bitman, now Kingsley Davis, now I mean, when you join civil service, we get a book called General Orders. Where that general orders they determine how you behave as a civil servant. Even those days, for joining the civil service, we will get a civil service entrance exam. I took that exam when I was in Form 4. If you don't school, if you not pass the exam day, you they go into the grade. That's when you get 3rd grade clerk. Then at 13.10, they start 10 days a day. We will get civil service training college. With public service commission, where government job come, they are a gazette, you apply, you go on a panel of civil service, the public service commission. These were independent-minded people who will actually interview you. And from there, that discipline, the kind side, because this government talk about a lot of discipline. If you're a Christian for dressing suits, for sure you say you go responsibility. If you're not Muslim, you come. Well, then a panel decide. So we get with civil service. And the civil service, you get the administrative grade, the technical grade, you get the financial grade. And the end people have been two. So we have those systems. We have those systems. They're not on YouTube, they try to propose. So the institutions are very important. We talk about due processes in governance. By due processes, how you follow procedures then when you want something, both from the government side where you want to deal with the people then, and from the people side where you want government. Let's give some example now. One institution we currently I will commend. Now immigration department. Immigration department, when you go there, they get record. When you are applying for it, you go post office. You buy your form, you fill the form, then you get people around the immigration office them, when are independent photographer them. They get photographer union. They self-defend their living, they are self-employed. You go take your picture. They say don't get a living. You apply for your passport, then get a system where you go. You go do your fingerprint because of biometric. You go take your, then tell you who's time for can take your passport. So these are the systems and processes. So let's give it to our immigration department. So when we talk about institutions, not all we institutions them don't stagnate. We get some way they do well. So they do well. But we got an institution we can talk about now. The transport field. Salone, they produce. We are an importing country. When you take the institutions of the port, Watakias will be known. When you go collect your goods, the kind of problem we are, the money we get for the man we they under, rather than like before, where you go, you get a tariff, where all man go, almost you get for pay, now you get for your work. So this lapse, then they talk about the justice system. Justice system when at the courts. And it starts not only this, it starts with the police enforcement officers. When you get case, you go to police, report your case. People then will tell me, and me say the experience. I give an example. One of the time they were go to one he been there way in partner stabber. So he go report the case na police. They say, okay, go get medical report. If you go get a medical report, they say, no problem. Despite the fact say it don't go hospital, doctor don't say, and they say, no, if you go to the police, your doctor. And more money. Then, when you submit that report there, the action within they take. So from the police, then you go to the courts. When you get case in a court, we in the diaspora, and I'm sure na tongue, what's the way Boku now country, now then land cases them. Land cases between family. You go for go buy land. But this is now another topic we'll go for deal with. In terms of how you get permits for buy land. People and they sell land, give 2-3 people there. You go court. If you the document, it take some cases they don't take 10. Then the lawyer themselves, now institution, the legal profession, now makes you get the bar association. And the bar association then for uphold the legal profession. But the lawyer themselves go give you case. We don't get case of when lawyer eats people their money, or lawyer not they appear. And when lawyer and magistrate they arrange for letting delay case so you go pay more money. These are the things we are talking about. As the rich man can say, is delayed, is justice denied. Then of course, we get issue for do with the economy. The people the way they manage the economy. Now like we cashier there, we accountants. But we get the Bank of Sierra Leone with the bank. We don't get new currency. They don't give a deadline. They will take out the old currency and introduce the new currency. But recently, we get reports that shortage of new currency, so they reintroduce the old currency back. They also bring coins. When we grew up, let's go back to history because the institution we talk about. I remember when we go school, before we get the, we count shillings and pence. In fact, we they do arithmetic. Now, stage and day, the pence, 12 pence million, now they carry forward. Then you go to the shillings. Then you go to the pounds. We been get a penny. We get old. We be rascal. With a tie black thread for that penny, they put in a treat. We hide in a corner. When somebody come pick that penny, they withdraw. So we been get, then even the scouts, they been get what they call Bob a job. Another one, they went a scout. When scout treats, then go clean your hide. That's one reason. So coin and it. But now, why on we go introduce coin and coin in another market? What's in that problem there? Now then just with transport pricing. And when they increase the price, they include coin. But coin not there. Recently we get case put a operator and they fed for coin. Human they ask for a change. They fed for them, the vehicle will go on them, he died. These are sad events. So the last part of it, we'll talk about now what we call democratic participation. Who then are the people the way how they in government? We get recently they don't pass law in a parliament. That 30% law for women then. Yes, it's good law, pass the law. We'll come back to the law. Say we forget 30% of the political space. We get 30% of the government. We get 30% women in business. Yes, it's good for pass law. But for God's sake, when we talk about institutions, Leone is one, we begin educate women then now before it's man country. And he watch memorial. 1849. Now we don't begin sending school. The former woman way back people na and he was Latihyde Foster. One of the first women then for go for college. We get Frances Wright, the late Frances Wright. One of the first barristers. So we lost them because institutions and opportunities them women are thriving. But now, for God's sake, why we get for pass law for involve women in governance? We get group there like 50-50. Where did they? Where they campaign for women? But not just the women about. We talk about the youth, the young people, our future generation. Because 70% population of Salone is below 40. They are the people who we take hands to. Some of we there in the twilight years, me and Michelon, we don't years. Other man country developing their system, helping them. This is why we do this program for shared knowledge. We get an African proverb where say, when an old man dies, a library is lost. So then here now we get social media, where they make them discuss when I say the kind side. Now for there, we get record. How do we promote our youth? Yes, we don't get a youth ministry. We get youth policy. How we involve youth democratic space. Not to for like election they can. I make sure they do this program. Go give them bitter cola. For people that we don't know bitter cola. The table we get to the total pack. And that gin, they run. Within that plastic. Cola. You give them bitter cola, let them drink. You shape t-shirt, give them. In fact, now the two have been happened last election. Some of the youths they get 2 t-shirts in political party. So man get red t-shirt, some manga and green t-shirt for SLPP. Yes, once in a year, we engage the youth. We use the youth them for violence, for serve with political masters them. But what institutions are we building? So now go back to institutions and governance. In the past, we had trade center. We get trade center in Kisi, we get trade center in Kenya. Right? But now, I'm sure the trade center in the East, they don't convert them to polytechnic, they don't go to university. Why this obsession with university education? It's all. We had Frobe College, one of the first university in Black Africa. I mean Africa south of the Sahara. 1827, for God's sake. College, whole of West Africa. You go to Nigeria, Georgia, we're from Frobe College. You go to Ghana, you go to my own fatherland, Cameroon. So Frobe College, which gave us the name, the Athens of West Africa. What has happened? Marginalized youth. Recently, our institution, people in past scare in color. But then we don't day out, we don't know what China was scared. Now the Western secondary school certificate examination, where they take after 6 years in secondary school. People then get brilliant results. So the university then decides, say, well, let's do entrance exams. I remember something on social media. Somebody will get A, B, B. When they say entrance exam, now I say, tell him, Paddy, say, bra, I think so I will wait for stay next year or they'll change the system there. Because that kind of exam, the way they can't go so, I don't think so I will pass. In fact, in one college, I think in Jala, for a particular cause, out of about 800 people, we don't pass, get good results. Yes, we talk about free quality. But when they go take the entrance exam, only 50 pass. So what does that tell you? What's the quality of the teaching? What's the quality of the education? Yes, we thank the president for a free quality education. Nobody not gets any problem about that. But the free quality, the F day one side when are free, yes, it's free. The E day at the other side, when are the education, but at the middle, the quality. Do we have quality education now? Now go back to the system we'll change before they talk about institutions. Some of you will go school under the old system and before the changes. The one that we've been gentling and them in the care them picking and go nursery. Some of we now granny there with mama and teach we in a house. We begin learn A, B, R, B, B, S, O, so, N, O, no. Till you ready for go infant. You go class 1. Then you go standard. Standard 1, standard 2, 3, standard 4, standard 5. Now then again the institution. Where is standard 4 take common entrance? Where they take common entrance, you get choices. They pick you 3 secondary school. When me say if you first choice, you never meet them, you get a second choice. If your second choice you never meet them, you get your third choice. So that was what the system was. Right? And then 10 and then they go sit common entrance, like the first introduction to secondary school. Because you go see common entrance of their secondary school. But that aspirant. Then from there you go to your GC. From your GC, again we get standard. 5 levels, in not more than 2, including English language mathematics. So man can take 4 years for 5 levels, then the combination. Go university. Now we change this system. Yes, we could. We come out a new system we call 634. 634 they mean. It means 6 years in a primary school. But 3 years at junior secondary school. But you know new. Because before we went them, we been get Form 3 exam. na Salone. We been get for exam. I think there's the time me they go secondary school in the late 60s. So now they don't bring them back. Waiting at the essence of that junior secondary school means when you take, we call it now Beke, Basic Education Certificate. Imagine you don't do the 3 year now you secondary school. When you take Beke, just for say, okay, you get streams them. Would go technical, would go academic. But do we have these institutions for provider training there? We don't. How much technical education we have? How many commercial education do we have? School like YWC, school which were set by the Christian Association, train a lot of our women today. Academic, then combine the vocational. That makes them call out YWC, Young Women's Vocational. Vocational education, they know they. Again. But then when you finish your Beke, it automatic means you go na the same school for do you senior secondary school. Then get standard way from it. Then it come back to the collapse of the institution, then will go to the family. Because the part of the institution. Because the family, that home, they nurture you. The collapse of our family system. Parents, the way they go now for bread, for let them picking and go na class the way they're not getting competency. So we don't talk about the institution. Then the final institution what I want to talk about, now we have, very important. The Latin word say mens sana in re sano, which means a health in a healthy body. So without health, nothing happens. The Westman they left with Connaught Hospital. That was our best hospital. In we days, I went to Samaria school. Connaught Hospital be there near. Because I play football all till I get wound. We will get a system. We go as health care. You register, then you card. The nurses then treat you. Or if you're sick, then give prescription. We will get lower dispensary. We will get upper dispensary. Connaught Hospital will get a dentistry department. We will get annex. Do we expand those systems? Now health is a challenge. With people, then they go Ghana for minor things like dialysis. Then they go India. So have we built on these institutions? Now, we have a medical school, which was not there when we were there. Do we train doctors a year? We have an engineering faculty in a different university. Do we train 1,000 engineers a year? But we get 1,000 graduates every year. So, 1,000 law graduates, then we get a weak system. Is that good investment in our education? So I think we don't do this analysis now. If anybody get for comments, we go let them comment. Or if my co-host want comment, before we go to the second part, we now with the talk about today, we now want to let people know the Sierra Leone we want.
Mr. Mango, if I may ask you one or two questions. I know say you keep referring to January 6th, just because of the fact that January 6th is also a very popular date in this country. What January 6th were you did you have in mind? January 6th of which year?
And January 6th,
but
1996.
You're not talking about the January 6th in America.
January 6th in Sierra Leone.
Okay, that's the distinction. That's a distinction. Yeah. I just want you to make that distinction because the January 6th here is very popular.
January 6th in Sierra Leone, I think it was 1996, so tell people if I'm wrong. Now, when we have what I will call insurrection, when the rebel cannot turn, we get a total collapse of governance. Yeah. In fact, that was the time when the then president had to go to Guinea for a refuge. We'll get a total collapse of our system. Now that 10 day, again, it come back to with society, I don't collapse. Because now that 10 day, a lot of people they suffer now freedom. Because now people go 1999, 1999. Thank you very much for the correction. If you didn't find us, people then feel to say you get family abroad. I mean, they point people where they get family abroad where they send in them for go damage them property them. So it was after the January 6, 1999, the next stage was the Loma Peace Accord, where that attended the rebel leader for the president, the meet in Lome. When they meet in Lome, that was when we had the first coalition government. We will talk about coalition government later in this program. When Fode Sanko was given a position, Johnny Paul Kuroma was given a position. In fact, if I'm correct, if I'm not mistaken, Fode Sanko was even given a position for look at our mineral resources. The minerals that will lead to the war we will call blood diamonds. So you had that piece, and they say, never again shall we in Sierra Leone witness that. So the things that we ask now for set up a Peace Reconciliation Commission, TRC Reconciliation Commission, will be headed by a man of God. I think it was Bishop Humper. So a lot of people poured and sold out. And we agree certain things that we'll get for do. And principle of that thing now, the institutional collapse, the lack of law and order, the state failed for people, then justice, poverty, and abuse. Now, as for election, we should be asking ourselves, are we of those in our society? We want to hear from the. Is it business as usual? Because when President Kabak gave it, he said again in the Leone should be repeated. So that is January 6th talking about.
Yeah, I knew you. You didn't mean. I just wanted for.
Yeah, it's good to clarify because we get an international audience.
Not to mix it up with the American January 6th insurrection, as opposed to Sierra Leone's January 6th, 1999. Yes, sir. So thank you for making that clarification there for we. So also, because you've touched on quite a few things, and we generally one day we'll just get to the other thing, the other subtopics them generally, and then we'll probably zero in on the details. For example, we talk about the institutions them. We'll talk about what we inherited, the state at which they were when we took over, and the state in which they are now. And you talk about, of course, you give high marks to the immigration system that you see is some improvement or market improvement in the immigration system. But also, I think, we can admit that the main areas of government where we should have improved on, not only there have been no upward movement, but we also have even ruined some of the foundations, like the legal system. Code of ethics among lawyers is almost non-existent, or in the legal profession. The strength of the Bar Association, it seems like it's getting weaker because I think sometimes I do not know what the orientation is with respect to the training of lawyers in Sierra Leone, but I do know in most countries, particularly England, from which we inherit with system, then put great emphasis on professional ethics, because that discipline there is necessary if any organization is to advance. So professional ethics is highly, highly, highly a requirement. We in America, the entire America, professional ethics is so important that there is not a single state in which lawyers are not required to take ethics every year as a requirement in continuing legal education. Sierra Leone, we've shown no interest in even implementing continuing legal education. We just assume, as we do in other areas of education, that once you become a doctor, you are a doctor, therefore you need no more skills, improvement. Once you become a lawyer, you're a lawyer. In fact, the way that they do the law in Sierra Leone ain't very interesting. As soon as you are called a lawyer, you presume to be a lawyer in expertise in all areas of law: immigration law, domestic law, patent law, antitrust law, you name it, criminal law. Once you're a lawyer, people assume instead will not focus, in fact, on specialization. So all of this cumulatively mean together, put together, in order to advance the cause of a country, and what they do is they put way backwards. So the one the way they lead, the way they fight, forget all them position there. We want for be directors. Look, for one time, I used to talk with the director of the law school in Sierra Leone. And there was a time when the director, Chubakumesga, was really very advanced in age. He was so advanced in age that he was beginning to get very poor recollection. And yet, when I talk with some of the people, including himself, Sierra Leone, they said the law school was struggling to get a director, which of course we in Iowa law school, then we call, in the United States, we call the heads of the law school the dean, that they were looking for some kind of unique qualification, that they didn't seem to have anybody in Sierra Leone to head a law school that, with all due respect, I cannot see why such a law school will have required some unique type of qualification to become director of the law school. But we put emphasis on a lot of superficial, I'm not going to say qualities, a lot of superficiality where we need to go back and examine the system. So like Mr. Mengot just talked, is it in the best interest that a country as small as Sierra Leone, which has small the population of Sierra Leone, train 1,000 lawyers a year, or that many, in relation to other important areas like engineering, like medicine, like even sociology, so many other important fields that we require, where the country need for trained people and for keep things going. We just recently, I think the president just opened a diplomatic school or a school of diplomacy or international relations in Sierra Leone. In the order of things, do we really need a diplomatic school? Is Sierra Leone such a major power in the world or even in the region of West Africa that or in the order of things, we need a school of diplomacy? Like Mr. Mengot did mention, there used to be a civil service training college what we inherit from the Europeans. Why wasn't that college maintained and developed? So if one trades diplomats them, we can just make it a school or some area that the college go even advance the interest of the country. Why spend money and time on these things that really have very, very, very little, if any, significance in the lives of people? Whereas the main areas that we need forget the best and the brightest, these are the areas that are so much neglected, like in the area of banking, money and banking, like in the economic areas, like how to come up with resourceful ideas for empower the ordinary people, how for train or encourage the banking sector for provide money for small business people to be able to get cash, borrow at low interest rates. So with the people then go and enable themselves or go for engage with what we will call the upward mobility. We know they come up with resourceful ideas. The thing is, they will tell you, see the bank in Australia, they not go give loan. But the Lebanese or other foreigners, them when they come, particularly I've said Lebanese or Syrians, only because the color matter. Because if you're not foreigner, you come out Guinea or Gambia, you will come, you want to borrow money. The outside, you're not going to get them because you're black. But if you are from one of the other countries, then where the skin color is a little different, which is shameful, then you most likely will be considered for a loan by the banks. So it's not like the banks don't have policies to extend loan to the public. Is that the loans are racially based in we own country where black people are running the show. So we know anybody will know anything about government. The government cannot employ everyone, cannot provide employment for everyone. But government definitely can provide the facility, can facilitate the structure in such a way that entities, private entities mostly, will be able, through the assistance of government, in making good roads, in making the telephone system efficient, in making the water and fire system efficient. These are all things what government can do for enhance, and then in giving guaranteed loans to poor people. Sometimes they will tell you, say, oh, when Australian get the loan, they go run, go hide in a village, you know, go pay. Well, this is a challenge. If that's the case, you don't say you know go give loan to the Australian. You say that's why we go to school, that's why we talk, say we get intellectuals. All right, if that's a major issue, Australians and they run go in a village where they don't borrow the money, they don't pay. We get for use with mind, because we don't go college, they don't teach we how to think critically. So how do we combat that? How do we get these loans paid? How does the government guarantee that the banks do not run in deficit? There are so many things, so many groundwork.
Well, Mr. Chilean, can I interject here because you bring a very important point.
Yeah, you're quite welcome.
Again. You remember we had a cooperative bank.
Correct.
Yeah, this is a system we have. We get cooperative used to help the farmers. We talk about feeding the nation. I can give an example. Just this is in Zambia. You look at the cooperative system was developed so much in those countries. You get the farmer active. These are the sort of we should be looking at. Now we get fund. Yeah, have a fund where they bring the idea for help people, but a one-off thing. Almost people then go begin less than $5 to do business. Okay? Let's build the institutions. Cooperative bank. It's sad to know if you look at banking sector, the majority banks, Nigerian-owned banks, Zenith Bank, FBI, all the only Sierra Leonean banks we have there is like Sanfa Kuruma. I've forgotten what the name of the bank is. Sierra Leone Commercial Bank and Bank.
I think Sanfa Kuruma's bank is Union Trust Bank.
Yeah, Union. Yeah, but some of the banks, Zenith Bank and all those banks are from Nigeria. So look at the irony. We are sending experts to Nigeria. Now the Nigerians are now ranks. There is also a Nigerian entrepreneur who runs the boat service.
Yep.
Right? Nothing wrong with that. I'm not opposed to that because we have a West African market, ECOWAS, any ECOWAS individual could come into that. Now, that is all part of the transport sector. And I could talk about institution and the transport because that is passionate to my heart. If you remember the days of people like Ibundu had a string of podapodas, right? Remember, again, when it comes to freight transport, we had Jesse Samuels.
There you go.
In fact, Jesse Samuels' name get placed in a Kisi now, where they call Jesse Samuels. So how many Sierra Leoneans have transport companies? But we depend on transport. We depend on transport for our livelihood. Yes, indeed, it's not all doom and gloom. Because when we talk about these things, we proffer solutions. I was involved in it. The government is coming up with a new system for regulate public transport. And what is that system? Before, when we had the demise of the railway, the 1964 Act created Sierra Leone Road Transport Corporation, which was both a regulator and an operator. So now what do they work? Government say, okay, now bring up a public transport authority, we're going to be a regulator, and get the private sector for cargo and transport. Now again, if it's topical, today, starting from the 14th of this month, we introduce roadworthiness test, with a fitness test that has been given to, again, some Middle Easterners who are running Comium, who have come with auto spec. Yeah, it's a good thing. But have we encouraged Sierra Leoneans to open garages to maintain our vehicles? And I could tell people with this kind of test we are bringing, if you want to do the test as it is, 90% of our vehicles are not roadworthy. So if you do the test to the letter, if you prohibit all their vehicles and they're off the road, think about the crisis that will cause to the economy. So these are the things. The transport sector employs a lot of people, right? Why not focus on training mechanics? With this new law, we can employ well over 3,000 mechanics. Because you're not going for dinner freedom. If you get testing sent all over, if you get bow, before you go do your test, you go one garage where they can go do your vehicle before you go do your test. Then employment. So when we create these laws, we must create the environment for the private sector to thrive. Because not to government, they make jobs. Government is sad in Sierra Leone. We have more public service employee than private. There's not a single company owned by a Sierra Leonean that employs 500 people. I can challenge
500.
anybody. Yeah.
500? That's an overstatement.
Well, I'm just saying that. That is what we're working to. That's what we should be working towards. For instance, now, we have a system where because of low pay to military forces and police, we give them bags of rice. Yeah? Where does those bags of rice come from? We import them. We import the bags of rice. That requires foreign exchange. Can't we grow enough rice? If government they spend that amount of foreign exchange buying rice for the security sector, think about how much savings we will make if those rice were produced in Sierra Leone. When I was growing up, Sierra Leone used to be a rice exporter. That's why we had the West African Rice Research Station. Then go back to institution. We take Jala. In Jala University was developed as an agricultural college,
Yep.
which was a good idea. I think they were linked with a college in America.
Illinois, University of Illinois.
University of, have we extended agriculture and agronomy
Not at all.
animal in our country? Instead of that, it's now switched to academics. Compete with the likes of University of Makeni, Jala is now doing social work. This was a university designed for agriculture. Not only that, even our institutions of higher learning, they're lazy. You and I studied abroad. The institutions here, they do research for industries.
Exactly.
What is the link between our institution of higher learning and industry? That's why I use the Jala example. If you had developed Jala, right?
Yes.
Jala can be the institution doing the research, do everything. We have an agricultural bank where we support farmers. They could even have outreach projects to support our farmers. We could be self-sufficient in food. We have arable land. If you travel a lot, once you pass 91 or 47, you see wide expanse of land. Land is not our problem. Why are we not using it? Take forest. In my days, we had forest industry. They make furniture. They get a showroom in Pulteney Street. Now we sell our timber to the Chinese. Then we talk about environmental protection. We are depleting our forests just to satisfy a few and politicians. So the things we're talking about. Let's look at how we can use our God-given natural resources. We have a massive coastline with fish, but we still import fish. The Chinese come and fish and take the fish out. The one that beats me, now when people and they import chicken, can you imagine? Importing chicken. Botswana export beef to Europe. Now give some other examples of African countries. What they supply. We have a very high grade cacao. We used to have cacao show in Kenema. Have we improved that? That is a major cash crop. We have coffee. I remember the times when we used to see them people and they sell coffee in a tongue, that natural local coffee. Have processed. Should we be importing Nescafe? We have cows in Kabbalah. Should we be importing milk? I worked in Kenya. Kenya is a milk producing country. So if we can be able to produce our basic foodstuff in our country, so many governments have talked about food security, green revolution, but you have to look at these things in a holistic manner. That's why I started with our agricultural university, Jala. Then from Jala now, you should have technical colleges. For the one that we know I'm going to higher learning, where you could train farmers, yeah, even people using tractors, combined harvesters. So you have the main institution, you have the technical institute, and then you
Mengot,
yeah.
Can I,
yes,
if
Mr.
I may
Shiro.
interrupt you, please hold your thought. Don't forget what you're about to say. And thus, as in support of what you say, the technical schools, like school like Jala, that were originally meant for the expansion and development of agriculture, which end up not following up. But even when we talk about education, higher learning, institution of higher learning, and even at the moment, with priority is wrong. Like you asked the question, what is the obsession about universities? We have Jala University. We have University of Salone at Frabe College. First of all, there are some basic thoughts that we should have added to what we have. Frabe College does not necessarily, in this day and age, does not necessarily have to have just one campus, Mount Oriel. Frabe College could have satellite campuses, depending on the demand. We could have a satellite campus from University of Sierra Leone or Frabe College in Bo. We could have Frabe College in Kenema, if possible.
I
Of course,
think
Bo and
Jala
Kenema.
has satellite campus as well, but
Okay,
it's not well
so
developed.
but that's what our focus should be on, not opening
Yeah.
more universities. Instead, what we should be focused on is opening more training centers, more technical schools, because that's what a developing an up and coming economy, that's what you need. Because when you open universities, there at some point you have to have graduates. So what foundation is being laid for these graduates to be hired? Because it's a rotating process. So if you don't create the foundation, will go lead to employment, and then you just open a university, then you get a eventually end up with a doorman, somebody with the open door with a degree, and that's all the best you can get for just to map that domot like a messenger for open door and close the door. So I know to see the foresight in the policy makers them when they come up with any ideas here. And some of the problems I think we have is that these things are on us because there are ways to make money. Because sometimes the international organizations then kind of propose them thing and we without giving any thought of economic and individual economic benefits, we just agree for join for open all the schools there. Otherwise, I think with Milton Magai, that is now a university, with Frabe College, with Jala University. I mean, of course, there's nothing a government can do. If a private university want to open, a private institution want to open a university, they should have the right to. But I didn't talk about government policy by the government should be more focused on, and we used to have extremely good training schools. We used to have extremely good teachers colleges like CTC, Nabo, Bunubu College, my Boroka Teachers Training College. These colleges were producing very highly well qualified, because in William days, when I think the basic certificate from a teacher's college was TC, teacher certificate. Then I think the next step was ATC. Then the next step was HTC. And when you are at HTC, even without having a bachelor's degree, you are tops. You don't run into an HTC certificated and teacher who doesn't know what to do. But all of these things, they have been so diluted that now the country is just carrying excess weight. The contribution where we, the educated people, most of we, the educated people, have now become excess weight on the system because we are not as productive. We are taken out of the system far more than we put back into the system. It's like banking. If you go put $1,000 in a bank, then you take all the 1,000, then you begin borrow against your good credit. At some point, the bank will be overwhelmed with debts that are not being paid because you will get out more than $1,000 debt day. All you had now $1,000. You can't contribute to the bank growing up for give more loan to more people. So this is some common sense approach. Where we the talk about, where Mr. Mango to talk about, where we try to start adopting if we want to run the country right. This has nothing to do with political parties. It has a lot to do. And the other thing we'll need to point out, I think somebody quoted President Bio, maybe Mr. Mango did say, President Bio had said to most of say, well, where are they abroad? Una the diasporas them, that una say, if we win, for hire most of una. So I don't give most of una job. So now una for make the difference. I just a paraphrase what the president say. So with the diasporans them, we are disappointing the country too, because a significant number of if we do a survey, the vast majority of diasporans now believe them for make intellectual contribution to the system. What they want is to be a participant, a political participant, for going there, use the political system, use party politics, forget the necessary connection, forget the job, we'll go pay them the money where they need, and help for corrupt the system. Not too many of us are really, they go in good faith or with good intention for help the system. That's also another problem, which we the diasporans them. Because never before have we had so many people
Now,
who've lived abroad.
all the thoughts here, because we're talking about institution, let me come to the diaspora angle, right?
Okay, all right.
When President Bio had inaugural speech, the first speech in Parliament, or even go manifesto, he talks about using the diaspora to develop country. And then he talked about 4 things: inclusive politics, inclusive development, inclusive economic growth, and inclusive governance. Now, let's look at diaspora. And then we will look from other countries, how they benefited from their diasporas. It was the last government under Ernest Kouma, where the office of the diaspora. Yes, you had somebody who was responsible for diaspora interest. In fact, the first director later became an MP. And when his party lost power, he's back in America. That's Dr. Shosaya. So that diaspora, why were we thinking of opening the office of the diaspora? Some of us who were involved, I'm a founding member of Salone diaspora in the UK. We said, first of all, develop a database of all over the world, like skill sets of diasporans. So the government, UN has a program, NDP, which they call DENI, where they were bringing Sierra Leoneans in the diaspora to come and work. That was the first thing. In other countries, they develop what we call bonds, for diasporas, investment bond. And let me tell you, the interesting thing, the statistics is there. During the COVID time, diasporans pour more money into the economy of Sierra Leone than other foreign direct investment. But here lies the problem. The way we put our money into the system. And I will come to the problem again about our partnership with our brothers back home. Because most of the money that diasporans sent into Sierra Leone, first, the major investors of these people build houses. Because some people who are out go and build massive structure to show as a sign of their success overseas. Next, we become the social safety net of our people. School fee, hospital bill. Investment that goes in from the diaspora is not channeled to support development. So if we can use our diasporans, right? How many diasporans are here who can say, okay, if government opportunity for investment, we don't trust each other. For us to develop our country, the trust is not. I'm in social media, in various WhatsApp groups, and I get involved. I listen to what other people, because I'm a man who, when I'm talking, I do a research and I like to know how people think. But if you look at these various WhatsApp groups, 70% of the discussion is based on politics. And not politics for the right reason. have their own discussion now is who would be the flag bearer. The problem of interim committee, the problem of the APC forming executive. On the other side, you get the ones them who are obsessed with the present government, the SLPP, ramming things down people's throats. Whether you like it or not, they will attack you. Then you get the NGC. So we spend so much time on politics, cyber attacks. Then I do a lot of experiments. Some of my development work, I post it here. It's less than 1% will respond. If somebody responds, it's just to give a thumbs up. I put some of these things in social media to instigate a debate. Like when I talked about the new roadworthiness test for the car. Recently, I posted something about the new hillside bypass and how we can use that for organized transport. I have people on the ground who give videos, even begin abuse that facility. So we in the diaspora, we need to come together, right? And say, okay, my participation in my country's development, is it only based on politics? Yes. Thank you to somebody making a statement here. It's more than 90% politics, no issues and concern for growth. Whoever sent that message, you're damn right. That's the point I'm making. We focus too much on politics. But not just Salone politics. I'm in another group. The interesting thing, because the government has spoken about the effect of the Ukraine war on our economy, you have a particular group on diaspora group, or even Salonians, who for all they write about Russia and the West, the Ukraine, they spend so much energy in debating the Ukraine. If they can channel that towards addressing the Salone crisis, we talk about bread and butter. Let's go back to basics. Nowadays, you go buy 4 cups of bread, penny butter, right? Cookery shop them was affordable. But now, I'm going to say, I've been in Sierra Leone. I can tell people that I last left Sierra Leone in March. You'll be surprised that people to get 1 meal a day. It's a problem we're talking about. The nutrition, grace is quarters of some people's monthly. Some people's salary cannot even afford to buy a 50 kg bag of rice. These are the things we are talking about, right? The bread and butter issue, the economy, and that was what this government about. So talking about solution, as the election is coming, we are not going to only ask the incumbent how we will have a problem, we to ask also those who are aspiring for that position.
Precisely.
Yeah. So make it don't to rule. What have you got to offer? Those who are, what can you do better than you did before? Or how did you spend your time in governance based on that? And when we talk about promises, go back. The president himself, his speech in the National Museum on the 12th of May, 2018. That is when he had the states, when they get the mantle of. And I'll read it in English, direct, and then break it down in Greek for a lot of people to understand. It says, during my campaign and since my election, have time and again, this is not going to be business as usual politics. Remember that? This is not be business as usual politics. In the 4 years he's been in power, has that been the case? It's the same old thing. We saw fracasses in parliament. Yeah? It's business as usual. After all, he was the same president. He cannot work with people he has table with. I'm not. It said, I'm not going to business as usual politics. He said, my goal is there three peaceful democratic world. War discipline. I'll address each war corruption and war on poverty. This peaceful war on indiscipline and poverty will end my tenure, and I am determined to deliver on my promise. So let me start by example. Let's start with war on indiscipline. And I can give an example. When the president came to power, one of us executive order was that ministers and public servants should not flout traffic. They mean they don't for broke traffic. It was an executive order. The Director General of Police also had an executive order. Follow them, give your own statement. So, what happens? These people have number plates which identify them, right? They do what they want on the road. When the big man don't do them, the man where they be and they do. If you are in Freetown, you see the convoy when they block roads and people pass. Also talked about that with the Langa convoy. The moment he passed, you can see a series of Okada riders and other taxis running behind us, is clearing the road for them. Discipline. We have ministers, the same president. No minister, no for by number plates. So the indiscipline, that if you're head of the state, you don't make a statement. Follow until the election. We will judge you by. And also when he came, you remember the time he been put lost. Anybody will go to office for that day. It get problem. What happened to that? The enthusiasm with which he came for. He come back to the institutional due process. So for go do business in the office, right? The Monday, you don't come out. Sometimes you can go meet. You don't make appointment from you meet the man. The more therefore the appointment to office. Hey, but then call the man at State House. Who said, why everything ever going to State House? That's the issue. Why everything ever going to State House? President call him, they come. Or president they go apply, they all the follow. Where should the president be going on this? You have entourage of public servants and ministers following him, leaving their jobs undone. What do you call that? Let's talk about the war of corruption. Yes, indeed. The president with the Commission of Corruption. And even one of the reports recommendation said corruption happened because of institutional. We have the Anti-Corruption Commission. Cases were taken to court. Oh, lack of evidence, we cannot continue that case. And who are the people involved in that case? I leave the listeners to judge. Yeah? We have an Auditor General talk about process who was suspended pending an inquiry. Let's look at how that process took place. It was the Minister of Justice who wrote to the Chief Justice to action, which is contrary to due process. Who made the complaint? The Audit Commission has a. So if somebody is aggrieved with an audit report, you have disciplinary process. In any institution, comes to human development laws and everything. Okay, yes, let's say the government has a case, right? For God's sake, till now, the case is still ongoing. There was a time when they not even get photocopy for photocopy evidence on this case. Is that the fight on corruption? You talk about war on poverty. The first finance minister talk about bread and butter issue. Then later, he had said, inaugurable will solve the country. So if you were to judge our chief executive officer on his own statement, it's not made up. Has he been a good steward for our country? If indeed he is, then let's give him a second chance. So that's the issue. Well, let's now talk about all these problems. Let's now go to solution to round up. If there's any other people coming in, we can give them to continue. But then let's go to the final segment of how do we fix the system.
Yeah, I think we should. As far as I'm concerned, I think you've touched on all the important issues with respect to causation or some of what is responsible for we finding ourselves where we are right now. And I think, and the problem we get, I don't have to say if not even lack of candor or the lack of commitment. It seems to me more so than lack of commitment, because I'm not convinced that anyone who has been through a university process or an institution of higher learning will not have the basic ability for comprehend the effect or the adverse effect of corruption on the system. So I think we all do. I think the problem is we are not as committed as we should, and we use the participation in politics as a matter of convenience, not necessarily believe in going into politics. And we can tell there is plenty of blame to go around. The institutions, then, like parliament, the judiciary, and of course, as far as the
Just
executive.
interrupt you. There's a person on the line. Let's give that person a chance with if they can bring them in.
Okay. Hello, caller. What's your name? Which side you call from?
Yeah, this is Abdul. I call from Maryland.
Mr. Abdul, thanks for calling. Happy New Year.
Same to you, sir. Yeah, Una, thank you for the informative and educating program on present today. I just get three issues where I want just make an addendum or add me a few more span. One, diaspora, the diaspora, the role of the diaspora. Then secondly, education and the institutions for independent and strong institutions. Let's start with the diaspora affairs. I believe that the diaspora is very strong constituent where any government foresees advantage of. And Mr. Mengo, he makes mention of, then we say it starts by England, where then where very important, where they forget a pool of all the diasporans in the world, like Sierra Leoneans, we don't achieve various fields in the world, health, education, agriculture, economics, all of them will get that pool where we go use the expertise of we within the diaspora for support any government, irrespective of who's party within the power, because we roll for contribute to the development of the country. I'll do now one simple. A few months back, I think some medical doctors, hospital in Baltimore, I think when I'm here, that program where they
definitely
do operation now hospital in Sierra Leone, I think I cannot. But then they through Zoom they show them how to go about or do the operation. When a very good thing and the way we did at the diaspora, where we should utilize that. So if the country not get a good especially cardiologist, for example, or gynecologist, or some severe operations where then they undertake, they then go tap the expertise of a diaspora and where they are. Where you go, you not even need for go day. You go do and through Zoom, you go do and through Teams, the show where you get the expertise where you get the direct yonder. And we this the same the diaspora we for even for utilize the diaspora now the educational institutions. There are certain causes the way they not get lecturers for them, or they not get enough lecturers for. They can use the diaspora and people we are the diaspora for teach some of them causes and they through Zoom, so that the people we own brother and sister then go benefit from that yonder. At least now very good aspects and the way the country will take and serious, irrespective of which government, which party they in power. They all for make sure say they strengthen that diaspora and affairs. Now the essence of the diaspora, not for just take people of una young party no more, but to not forget a pool, especially of experts of Sierra Leoneans. We get boku Sierra Leoneans within the medical field, now the health, science, the other science areas, public health, and education. They use their expertise for help the diaspora. That is one. Then secondly, with the institutions, we need strong institutions if the country is for forge ahead. The Anti-Corruption Commission, let it be totally independent. The Electoral Commission, let it be totally independent. Let the president so able to get the levity for fire the person where they did. That them will be independent and do their work judiciously. Now the same thing for the bank governor. So only democratic institutions, if we get them and strengthen them, we go devoid from any political interference, we begin to see we development ahead. Now the same thing you wanna mention, you touch on the law, the legal. You go surprise for you say I'm not saying you know about that. That we still get early 1900s, 1902, 1800 laws and we start using. Therefore, don't have physics and long term. Rwanda do so some few months back. Rwanda then revisit all the colonial laws then to modern day laws. Then do that. And Paul Kagame take the bull by the horn. He revisits all colonial laws to modern day. So I feel to say that I feel to for then with the institutions them. I just touch small about the education. The education, it is hard trending that the kids don't get them marks them for university. Then they're able to get places at the university. Like you wanna mention something, say the university they don't need to get campuses all over the country. You cannot need for Komo Kaila for Kana for big college. If the campus then na Kenya or Kaila, we can go there. You cannot need for one go Jala, the common Kabbalah. No, if the campus so let them spread the campuses all over the country. That's not the only way they'll be able, instead of creating more, but when I spread the campuses, let campuses in there far and wide, so Pekin will get access. Instead of all everybody they come na the cosmopolitan area when I speak so. So now that number I get for contribute. So nothing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdul. Always your contribution means so much because you come across as a very thoughtful, committed smart, intelligent Sierra Leonean. We, uh, if we are committed to what you just say in terms of forming a listing of diasporans abroad, sometimes because I think it sounds to me, if I recall, you were once a teacher or you were in the educational sector, so you do know a lot about the educational structure and what it may take for develop the educational system in Sierra Leone. So we need more callers like you. We need more people who get background in certain areas where all of which they get adverse effects on the system, and with the hope that you will continue for call. But I'm in total agreement with you. So we are not out of ideas. We get too many well-educated, well-informed people. One other comment I want to make: there is a group, always a group of people among all nationalities. We will tell you very easily, man, I'm not talk about Salone business because now politics, we don't get time for politics. I think people don't understand the implication. Everybody is affected by politics because the decision made by politicians, they affect you, they are inescapable. So whether you like it or not, you are affected by decisions, good decisions, bad decision. It will affect you, it will affect your family. So as we cannot just be engaged with our own private lives and forget about the bigger picture that just like they say, it takes a village, it takes all of us. And again, this whole idea about politics comes at different level. There is a significant number of we who have not been able to rise above the mentality of APC SAPP. It's like an institution of itself. It's like almost at the time I think of the word, a way people then not think, say, some people that feel committed to a party to the point of they deliberately want to be blind at harmful practices by our politicians them. And at the end of the day, when I would back them politicians here, when you know something they do wrong, we don't even get any direct benefit, or indirect benefit from this. You just support the person because, oh, we come under the same region, because we come from the same tribe, or because he joined the political party we are preferred. So Mr. Mangot said something just now. We should not only be critical of the current government, because what good does it do? As I've always said, if you pull President Bill just for the sake of getting rid of him, the other people in the talk say, at least make it come out. At least make it come out. So is that the purpose for those people are normal? So that they will come fill in the shoes and start doing the same thing? Or we should by this time have some clear articulation of vision for the country by potential leaders them. Tell what your vision for Sierra Leone. Tell what you dream for Sierra Leone. Tell how you go, the steps you will take to accomplish these dreams, or aspirations. We're not hearing that. We barely hearing the opposition. They even talk anything about injustice. I sometimes talk about on the Kamarimba case. It's clear there's political involvement in the system, but it's shameful when you have a person locked up, and deprived of all basic human, civil, constitutional rights, and you get a whole bar association doesn't seem to think there's anything wrong with it. It's a shame. And what is the point of having a bar association if you people don't see this type of gross violation and stand up for justice and stand up for human rights and stand up for civil rights? Because why should a man be locked up in jail Even if he was tried for what he's being charged, for the time he spent in there, I think with a sound, balanced judge, if he was found guilty, everything on balance, the fact that this man has no prior criminal record and all of that, he may have already served his time and gotten out of jail. So, but the appropriate professional organization to deal with that is the Bar Association. And they seem to care less about injustice. They say very little. And for the prominent lawyers then back home, for me, my assessment of UNA's contribution, not to the big guys they want to represent, not the cause they want to represent. Okay? We'll get some big name lawyers and back home. Their cause is bigger than we all. Like, again, a guy like Kamarimba, I mean, whatever they happen to run, so it happened to, in fact, a lot of other people who will not even know about. We've seen people taken to jail, women, beaten physically, slapped, beaten down by police officers. I have a video where a woman was taken to jail and then put in baby outside. They inside the lockup. Then they put woman in a jail which man them without regard to the person in safety, woman in safety. Where is the Bar Association? I get so much beef with this lawyers group. What sort of lawyers are we training for the future? Are these the people who become the chief justices and the attorneys general and all those kind of people? You know, where justice doesn't seem to matter. What happened? What really matters is politics. So there's a lot we can talk about. Oh, the talk about good governance. I mean, we can point fingers at a lot of other people, and we not see effort in trying to improve the system. So it's about time. So when they say to Una, when election they come, it's not so much the dislike that you may have, the passion with which you may dislike a current government, is have you conclusively made up your mind that any incoming government or group, without having spoken to we as a people as to how they intend to fix all the things we will talk about, and in a passionate and sincere and convincing manner. Because if Chief Mandela yours, you not only want to get them out, you want to get them arrested if possible, so you're not going to repeat that. But if you just want to let it go so that Chief Man can come in and thief, well, not to the Chief Man, you do yourself. So it's about time that we use intelligence. When I vote, once every 5 years, but it's a very powerful means. Use on a head. Elect them can and give you 20 bags rice. That not for affect you common sense, your intelligence. You for no say, this now once every 5 years, so you get to do it right, or else you will suffer for another 5 years. So that said, make I go back to Mr. Mangot. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So
well,
very
well said, sir. Let me talk for in contribution about the one about law. For a long time, we had a law reform commission in Salone. What happened to that? Again, at the institutions. We recently, I was dealing with some important issue for dealing with the Justice Department. How many legal drafts people have we got in that country? People who can draft laws that are fit for purpose. Our problem, the problem now, as we're talking, is to fixing the problem. And now look at examples of what has happened. My view, based on my experience, both in Salone and other, one party no go change with it. One party situation. FT no be non-changer. Yes. If we take even war, post-war, the SLPP has had more terms in government than APC. Because the first SLPP governments have 2 terms. 2 term APC, and then this is a third term of the SLPP. So why pointing fingers saying that this poel, that they poel? Yeah, you say majority carries the goat. Yeah, it's a bit sarcastic, but yes, one side no better past the other.
Nope, not
So
at
what
all.
we need, it's a collision and collection. It's not new. It has happened in Sierra Leone. So since we reflect back, let us look at the electoral systems and the leaders. Let's start with post-war. The first President Kaba's government was a coalition government. Because after the election with Carifa Smart, nobody even get the majority for get the first round. So there was a second round. And President Kaba, the partnership, Temu Bangura of PDP Sobe was even made finance minister. And what most people maybe before he joined APC, he was SPAN. So when Kaba had that coalition government, first time Kaba was well. That was why the second he was given a mandate. Yeah. But during the second term, forgetting about the coalition, they go back one party. Saying that in the president be say Salone get Badat. And we know the reason statement. The next coalition we had was the first time of Anes Koma with the PM and Charles Magai. First time was okay, but eventually some of the people from the PM were coerced in the APC, others were sacked. APC continue. Now the only way we can change Sierra Leone is if we have a collection of parties coming to form a government. People are opposing that. But that's my belief. It's an experiment elsewhere. I was there. It's a coalition government. Gambia is a coalition government. Liberia is a coalition government. If we have a minds of politicians rather than the musical chairs players, for God's sake, let's back. I remember when we had the student uprising in Sierra Leone, 1970, under students, no college, no school. Now that time Shaki make the statement say the Barry. People were saying have intellectuals in his government. What did he do? That is, he started bringing guys. Dr. Abbas, who is still the speaker. This man should be in his village looking after his great-grandchildren.
Precisely.
Right? Yeah. Dr. Abdullahi, who is now leading the lawsuit against PR. Dr. Joe Jackson. Dr. A.K. So they brought in these doctors. Did they change the system?
Did they for the worst. They did for the worst.
For the worst. It's because of that mentality. That's why the Dominion saga come in, where people and they go get PhD under Mangotic.
Yeah.
So what we should be doing now, the next group of petitions, they should have a program to build the next leaders. And when I are building the next leaders, let's focus on the under 40s. Because they are the ones going to take Sierra Leone to some of us. The next government is finishing. We don't pass 310. Now, what will that coalition government do? Right? The first is constitutional review. The Constitution is the Torah of our God. Because when that Constitution was done in 1991, it was a forge. Because we had a one-party state reluctant to bring a multi-party state. But in drafting the Constitution, this same interest, they left things there like executive powers, with the president becoming now a labor union or an employment office. That is why when they appoint public servants, it says it pleases the president. And when it displeases the president, you're out.
You're out.
In the period of 4.5 years, how many attorney generals have we had? 4, I think. And Minister of Justice.
At least 4.
Yeah. How many finance ministers have we had? This is the third one. How many IGs have we had? This is the second one. So that continuity is not there because of that system. So the Constitution, and we have had 3 attempts at reviewing the Constitution. So if we don't go and look at our basic laws, as that other caller says, right? Look at those old law. Look at our law, our legal system, because the law is what makes a society.
Precisely.
Independence of our judiciary and our police. Citizens' participation in governance. Right. I work in other African countries. Kenya, for example, is a unitary state. For God's sake, we've been talking about devolution. You were there, Bo, go develop Bo. You were there, Kailaun, go develop Kailaun. And you can develop, and again, let's bring in the diaspora aspect. Because all these different claims in Sierra Leone have diaspora organization. You have Kenema Development Association, you have Kono Development Association, you have KDU, Credit Union, you have Bonkolenken, you have Tegloma. These are the ones I know. So why not those associations link up with their people from their regions to develop their region? In fact, we should have a regional competition. Who are the people who will develop their most region? So let's develop everything and specialize. If Kono, where the mining area is, that's where the Ministry of Mines should be. Where the agricultural area is, that's where the Ministry of Agriculture should be. Diversify so you stop this pool into Freetown with all the environmental disaster. That's my second solution. Third solution is make of information and communication technology. Communication it helps a lot. It would improve our learning system. Just like the caller said, we can have remote satellite campuses with proper communications. People can be taught in those campuses. People from the diaspora can help. As an example, now I'm in the Institute of Engineers. In April, I've planned to give a Zoom lecture to engineering students in Frabe College. I'm here organizing the production in Sierra Leone. I have meetings with them on WhatsApp. I'm here in England working with Sierra Leoneans. Then, again, when you talk about information and communication technology, for God's sake, that will curb corruption. That's my third recommendation. Most countries now, they've gone to payment, electronic system. If the government should say all transactions should be by electronic payment, you want to pay government, you pay electronically. Money not involved. Accountability and transparency will happen. A lot of countries in Africa are going to that. Electronic payment. That would even help us to be printing currencies every year and every year. Make less use of money. COVID taught us a lot of things. With COVID, people were not using money.
But can you please tell us the economics of not printing money and the uh, disadvantage of just keep printing money, because it costs us when we print, doesn't it? When we print money.
When we print, because of what has happened in recent past, people don't use the banking system. They hoard the cash. So when they hoard the cash, the circulation is a problem. It happened last year. It happened this year. People were going to banks. You want withdraw $3 million, 3 million leos. For God's sake, 3 million leos is less than 300 pounds. They say bank no get money for you. In this day and age, why can't that person has that account, right, and then use electronic transactions? So I think we have a caller on the line. Let's give this caller a chance, and then we will do our final roundup.
Hello, caller. What's your name and where you call from? Hello, caller. Caller, hello. Hello. Is the caller still on the line?
Can the technical team help us? Is the caller still on the line?
No. All right. You may continue, Mr. Mengot. Because
so printing money costs us a lot of money because we don't print the money ourselves. We have a contract with Thomas de la Rue. And that's Thomas de la Rue in Sri Lanka. So you think about paying to print the money, transporting it, then doing it. I don't know if people were to ask the bank governor how much it costs to print the new currency. That's the issue. Which brings me now to the last part when you talk about citizens' participation. We have what we call right to access information law. In other countries, they call it Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
So why do we have these laws when citizens cannot get access to information? So these are the things. If a well-informed people will be able to make a well-informed judgment. Some of the work me and you are doing is voluntary. We are not paid. And there are people who listen to us. And we must say thanks to our listeners and the ones that are spreading the news far and wide. Because I think the last broadcast we had about 19,000 just on YouTube. We might not know the sort of the category of people, but people are listening. So that access to information, and then the institutions that are mandated to uphold citizens' rights, let's strengthen them. Let's give them the sources. We have an ombudsman. Almost people that know it's in an ombudsman. Ombudsman are like a referee, right? They are there to deal with maladministration. Although the last one has now resigned, but when you have grievance against government, you must be able to take that grievance. And you must get results. And then finally, coming to you again with our court system, this delay in justice, as they say, justice delayed is justice denied. Let's take other country. I use Kenya as an example again. Now, election, the council, this will be my final word. There will be a lot of petitions. People will be aggrieved. How the courts handle that would be a test of time. In Kenya, when they had the election petitions, I've been there, even the most recent one, No more than 40 days is what decided upon. But this idea of our judges and our court system, it can arbitrarily adjourn case for 2-3 months. That should stop. That should stop. And we'll be watching them after this election. God's sake, let the ones who are arbitrary, the referee them. Just like for finish, where they married na tongue. Married is a good institution at tongue. Now make sure you get godmammy and godaddy. So when I get plaba, and then they go lay complaint to. And then they decide. So we get Papa government and Salone. We country Mama Salone. So now godmammy and godaddy them. When are the institutions here, let them able to protect the rights, the security of we people them at home and abroad. So I thank you very much. Then I'll say over to you, Mr. Shilon.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Mengot. And in closing, I will just briefly say, we just, a day within we reach, and a day within we ability for make changes. So what would you say, oh, now for pray no more, now for this and that? All of that is into the equation. But we get the ability for make the changes we need and we desire and we deserve. If we not do that, we go just the spin we will, like we motoga fast in a potopoto, the wheel the turn, but the motogana to go before. Because you know get the traction we need for go before. So it's much easier for corrupt the system. I mean, the best example I can give is like a house. You can't build a house in one day, but you can destroy the house the way you build complete house in 1 hour. You can set them on fire and it's down. So there are too many people who are coming to the political system, not for continue for build the house, for make it stronger and bigger and better. A lot of people, when they come under this pretense of, oh, I want for can help. But indeed, they want for can help, but they want for can help themselves. Because when they come in the government, when they get position of authority, they can't help themselves. They can't even wait for engage in open corruption, because now corruption, not even a subtle thing. People openly are participating in it, knowing the public knows that they know they make the kind of money where they in the talk about, where they portray it and get. And we talk about, Mr. Mango talk about, like for example, they give garages, they talk about garage. I mean, there are so many things other African countries are doing. Like Botswana way reference, what Mr. Mango reference. Botswana, they export just beef in the billions of dollars. Beef. We don't talk about mineral, and Botswana get diamonds and they other things like we. But just beef no more. Then they capitalize and they profit so much. We can learn from their country then they how if we want really learn, if we want help, we're not going to come to America, we're not going to come to Australia, we're not going to come Canada. There are African countries that have effective policies in place where go make a difference. Mr. Mengo cite Kenya. How then they try for development system? How then they try for combat racism, tribalism in politics? How then they try for strengthening the constitution and some of the requirements them that when there are election petitions, those cases should come up and be decided within 40 days. But these are efforts. But the problem we've had, when you get an APC government when they come, they skew the law, not in the interest of the country, but in the interest of the party, knowing full well that these very guys you skewing the system for, it's just a matter of time. They're going to switch back to the other party who will come in power. So why not just get a system that will not be unfairly tilted in favor of one side or the other? Why not will get a neutral system? Why not will strive towards getting a neutral system for the good of the country? Because once we begin for get institutions that we will respect, that are strong, we will resist the power, because executive power is an awesome power. We see even in America with all the might. We had one man in the person of Donald Trump. After all 200 and some years, he almost destroyed the system. This just show you how the executive branch, one man with the worst intention, could ruin a system we have not built for over 200. I did not mean for the legal system, the courts. We cannot be too proud of the Supreme Court of the United States, but we have to be very proud of the federal district courts. Them, I don't want to get into the composition of the federal district court in relation to other courts, but I did not mean for federal judges who stood firm. Mr. Trump will have destroyed this nation, and had he been able to get away with it, we know the significance of America in this world. He will have destroyed a system that will have destroyed the world. So institutions are important, and people of integrity are important to run or make heads of many institutions here. Once upon a time, we had such people. It's about time we get back to that. Somebody who can talk truth to power, way in motivation, not to money, now for help country. So until then, it's been a wonderful time, as always, talking to you guys. The subject matter is of such breadth that we can talk from now till tomorrow non-stop. Thank you very much, folks, for listening and participating. And we hope when I will join you next week on another topic. And as usual, have a nice weekend and wish you the best. A happy New Year to all of you. Thanks.